Günün son oturumu teknoloji ve inovasyona, kuşak ve yol girişimi çerçevesine bakmamızı sağlayacak. Bu çerçevede tarımdan gıda güvenliğine, kent yaşamına kadar birçok alanda karmaşık sorunlara bulduğumuz dijital çözümler var. Bunlar için kuşak ve yol girişimi neler sağlayabilir? Bu detayları konuşmaya çalışacağız. HP Türkiye CEO'su, TÜSİAD Bilgi İletişim Teknoloji Çalışma Grubu Başkanı Sayın Filiz Akdede moderatörümüz olarak sahnede olacak. Aynı zamanda panelistlerimiz TÜSİAD Başkanı, TFI TAV Gıda Chief Technology Officer'ı Erman Karaca, China National Electronics Import and Export Beijing Co. Genel Müdürü Fan Hongyi, Siemens Türkiye CEO'su Sayın Hüseyin Geliz ve Nokia Orta Avrupa ve Orta Asya Başkan Yardımcısı Mikko Lavanti olacak. Kendilerini sahneye davet ediyorum. Hello sir. Merhabalar. Welcome sir. Merhabalar, nasılsınız?
Hi. I will ask you only this question and this question. Okay? How Chinese state-owned private companies have played. People are waiting, so maybe you can stick to your questions. This is down. I can ask you this question. Belt Road consists of Silicon Valley Fancy Road. Where will there be a digital BRI corridor? I will ask you these questions. How Chinese state-owned private companies have played in this whole European market. So we need to start. By working open cables across BRI boundaries. Which one do you want to go? Which one do you want to go? Major challenges will help development of effective strategy. Which major challenges? I will ask you that. What do you prepare? Tell me. Okay. Başlayalım mı? Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. Hello. It will be our last session. We will try to keep it short and sweet for you. Today, in our panel, with our distinguished guest, we will talk about the digital transformation and innovation. In order to set the stage, I would like to mention what are the mega trends in the world, like hyperglobalization, rapid urbanization, and changing demographics and innovation. These are very critical, and we all need to transform our companies, our countries, in order to be taking places, a fair place for our companies. So this is very critical. Today with our guest, we will talk how can we change, how can we learn about technologies, and how can we make these technologies efficient for our business, like cybersecurity, AI, robotics, 3D, we are talking all day long, but how are these changes will take place in our industry, and how can we fight against our competitors, and how can we be implementing innovations to our companies, countries, and how this platform, BRI, will take place. How can we learn from each other? How can we cooperate more, coordinate more, and how can we develop our business in this in this new era. So in order to cut quick, I will start with Erman with my first question. Erman, how expanding the digital economy may transform BRI countries? How do you see that?
Thank you, Phyllis, and thank you all attendees also. The Digital Silk Road aims to construct communications networks across the developing world. The vision of for BRI called for growth and in the digital trade and the expansion of communications networks to develop an information Silk Road. The Digital Silk Road is a Silk Road in cyberspace with a pledge to support innovation actions plan for e-commerce, for digital economy, smart cities, and science and technology parks. Technology companies are building cross-border communication networks and e-commerce links in countries involved in the Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative. Fiber optic cables, international passageways, mobile structures, and e-commerce links in countries. These technologies are designed to supplement the Belt and Road's physical infrastructure while introducing common technical standards in participating nations, most of which are emerging economies and lack rudimentary internet facilities. Boosting connectivity can enable information exchange, bringing mutual benefit and win-win cooperation for countries. But there are geopolitical implications to install complex data communication systems. Cables which transfer massive amounts of personal, government, and financial data are controlled by telecommunications firms. So, when it comes to enforcing security, regulatory gray areas emerge. Digitalization will impact, we told also before, how much there is also security issue for the countries and for the citizens and for the governments also. For that purpose, for the data purpose. Digitalization will impact how people live, work, interact, and conduct business. The upcoming digital transformation represents a tremendous opportunity for society as well as for the economy. There is no time to lose for every country. Many countries also moving faster in building the next generation of digital infrastructures and in transforming their economies and societies into the digital age. As part of the digital transformation, artificial intelligence will increasingly become a main driver for improvement and innovation in the public and private sector. And artificial intelligence also deeply affects the way we work and live. The importance of digital skills can therefore not be underestimated. It's crucial that education policies adopt to the new reality and strengthen their focus on equipping citizens with the digital and computing skills for all countries. The most ambitious infrastructure project in the world, China's One Belt, One Road initiative, will connect more than 64% of the world's population and also more than 40% of GDP, touch the lives of millions cut off from the global mainstream and about a quarter of all the goods and services and world moves. The BRI is expected to change the way the world trades, enhancing digital finance to stimulate growth in the economy. Major infrastructure investments to be made within the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative will meet a big need for many countries within the enterprise. The 11 countries in the initiative are among the least developed countries in the world by the United Nations. In this way, infrastructure investment that these countries cannot realize due to financing constraints will be realized. This investment will accelerate development and increase export opportunities for these countries. But the Belt and Road Initiative is not only infrastructure investments and trade investments also. These infrastructure investments include export of technology and corporate culture change over the 64 countries within the scope of this initiative. Digital Silk Road means networking in developing countries. There is also different cultural behaviors and different also technological capabilities between these countries. And with the BRI, it will be possible to build telecommunication systems with this infrastructure investment to build infrastructure for the Internet of Smart Cities and Objects and to establish e-commerce channels. BRI will promote cross-border collaboration on smart city development, e-commerce, data-driven economy, big data and AI technologies. Telecommunications and satellites is one of the important things for that also. Under BRI, improving international communications connectivity through the construction of cross-border optical cables and other communications, trunk line networks, satellite network also. And other is the smart cities, building the smart cities in the all countries. Another digital infrastructure is the construction of smart cities. Smart cities are broadly defined as urban areas that integrate information and communications technology to improve city operations in everything from traffic flows to water conservation to crime prevention. And the third one is the e-commerce activities also for the countries and the companies. It's a big opportunity. This is a common argument for integrating standards and reducing trade barriers in e-commerce via having also electronic world trade platform. E-commerce channels will increase and grow between BRI countries. In a range of areas from cybersecurity to digital artificial intelligence, digital economies standards will be able to place in these countries, which constitute more than 64% of the world's population. Successful digitalization is crucial for the future of the economy and will contribute not only to faster GDP growth, but to growth tied to productivity, innovation, and consumption levels. As Turkey and the business world to be aware of the importance of this project and the need to follow development carefully and work together. Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you, Erman. Fun. Erman almost touched every topic, but I will ask you, how do you see this BR initiative and how do you see the transformation will happen? What is your view?
Thank you, Phyllis. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my own views on BRI and on digitalization. During the 5 years since initiation, the Belt and Road Initiative has been well responded by countries along the route. In the first half of 2018, the total value of trade between China and the Belt and Road countries has reached $605 billion, up 18% year on year. China has newly invested $7.68 billion in the Belt and Road countries. The China-Europe Railway Express service has exceeded 10,000 runs by the end of August 2018. Considered as a new growth pole, the digital economy is becoming the choice of more and more countries in recent years. The Belt and Road digital economy had pushed the transition of China's economic growth from element-oriented to innovation-oriented. In 2017, the total value of Chinese digital economy has reached 27.2 trillion yuan, approximately $4.12 trillion, up 20% year on year, and took a 33% of the total GDP, ranking second around the globe. Promoting development by digital economy is the right choice for both China and Turkey. While providing great power to the innovation economy, the digital economy will also optimize the efficiency and structure of the traditional industries, promoting the transition and upgrade of traditional industries. Firstly, digital economy is a new form of economy as well as new distributions of resources. It removed barriers in information exchange and significantly improved its utilization efficiency. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, countries had built many platforms of e-commerce and political affairs. Secondly, digital economy is leading a new revolution in manufacturing industries, characterized by the deep fusion of the generation technologies of information and manufacturing. Digital economy makes the manufacturing more innovative and intelligent. Digital, virtual, and intelligent technologies will be through the entire lifespan of products. Flexible, internet-based, and customized manufacturing will be the new trend. I think entrepreneurs here, some of you may visited Zhejiang, Yiwu. Yiwu is a small city in China, Zhejiang province. 15 years ago, you can only see some vendors there doing small business. But nowadays, based on internet and tailored products, people have much higher efficiency connecting with them, the business. And you see, you can find products from nail to machine tools, from plastic tools to almost everything. So digitalization is a big push to the upgrade of the manufacturing, I think. Thirdly, digital economy is the best testing field for innovation-oriented development. Nowadays, digital economy became a driving force for corporation innovations. Many internet enterprises with great potentials have risen in China with the development of digital economy. Enterprises from both China and Turkey should take advantage of opportunities brought by the Belt and Road Initiative. Through the transparent legal frameworks, with the help of the internet, promoting innovations in products, service, procedure, organizations, as well as business modes. Fourthly, digital economy had brought tangible improvements to people's daily lives. Supported by internet and smartphones, the information technology had changed people's habits in China. E-commerce, internet finance, online education, telemedicine, online entertainment, all of these significantly facilitated people's lives. Through the digitalized Belt and Road, Chinese people start to know more about the history, culture, and spectacular natural sceneries of Turkey. They want to visit Turkey and also interested in Turkish products. As a result, many Turkish products had successfully entered the Chinese market. Our company, the company I served, is a comprehensive enterprise devoted itself in exploring international trade and investment. Many famous European companies not only have business, but also invested joint ventures here in China with us. I think both China and Turkey are emerging developing countries with historical civilizations, as well as powerful energy for economic development. We are looking forward to establish connections with more Turkish friends to boost the economy and trade between the two countries.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
hope
for-
we can be the linkers for both countries. Thank you.
I hope so, yeah. Hüseyin Bey, Siemens is a very critical company in terms of transforming the companies, countries. You are in different areas. I would like to ask you that, what is the role of technology companies in digitalization process of BRI countries?
Right. First of all, I'm very happy to be here. And when you look into the future, we should always do our homework from the past. So allow me just to ask the audience a question. When we talk about the Silk Road, how many of you know where the word Silk Road comes from? Maybe just how many of you know Silk Road, where the name comes from? I see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hands. Yep, it's great. And guess what? It is Germany. It is Germany where Ferdinand von Richthofen, he was a German geologist, 1877, mentioned the first time the Silk Road, die Seidenstraße. And the main reason why during that time we talked about this was really resources. Where are resources? How do we get to those resources? Now, what kind of role can, could, would technology companies play when we talk about the Belt and Road Initiative itself? I like to just split that just a little bit. What kind of role do we overall play in the development of countries? And why is it also applying to the Belt and Road Initiative? Well, first of all, I believe profoundly the Belt and Road Initiative is significant because it gives a chance to cooperate. And one of the most important things going forward also worldwide, we need to cooperate much more. We need to drop borders, we need to open up, and we give everyone the chance to cooperate in trade, in communication, in order to have a much more safer world. Now, when you ask a question like this to a technology company, the first answer would be maybe providing technology. But I don't want to do that, because I think the world is going digital in microseconds. Every moment we are creating billions of data. And we have to, of course, ask ourselves the question, as a technology company, what to do with this data? What kind of responsibility is that? As Siemens, we have been in Turkey, for example, 162 years, and we have been in China, 120 years. We always saw us as a bridge builder. So first of all, as a technology company, we see ourselves as a bridge builder. And as a bridge builder, we have to ensure to help to build a healthy ecosystem. I think that's very, very important, to build a healthy ecosystem. Why? Because we have to ensure with the right inclusive partnership of all countries on the Belt Road, we can find the new. Because that's what we always try to do, we're finding the new. And it has to be an ecosystem in which each region unites actually its strengths and pushes them even further, not behind, not to copy. Because sometimes we are asking the question, oh, how can we be a Silicon Valley or something like that? But each region has a strength. How do we ensure that that strength is being utilized in order to grow more? And that is where technology companies also play a very important role. We, as a technology company, as Siemens, but many of my colleagues as well, we envision a digital Silk Road as a holistic, open and inclusive ecosystem of digital applications. Digital applications that provides intelligent, responsible, digital and inclusive layers for hardware, software, and also human brainware. For infrastructure solutions, of course, like mobility, like trains and railways, power plants, factories, building, and even entire cities. I would say our utmost mission as technology company has to be to bring prosperity to individuals and companies, to bring competitiveness to the region, and of course, to the Belt and Road Initiative nerve system itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Hüseyin Bey. So Miko, we talk about e-commerce, AI, big data, everything takes us to telecommunication infrastructure. I would like to ask you, how will 5G contribute to our BR initiative countries?
谢谢你。I will talk in English, but let me first a little bit reflect what we just heard in that sense. So I would ask one question: how many of you know what Nokia does today? We don't have any more the mobile phones, right? And I was once, a couple of years ago, next to a world-famous artist in a plane, and he was talking about his work, and then he asked, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I sell hope." Hope. And then he was asking, "So what do you really do?" I said, because what I'm doing in the industry, if you look at 5G, and I'll come back in a moment, all what we do, we provide people in this actually changing world. We see global warming, we see all the issues on human rights type of things in different places. With the technology that we provide people also in this region opportunity to learn. So I think about the people who I see in Uzbekistan, for example, in the villages, all the children. With the technology that we are providing, we provide opportunities to learn. We provide opportunities also with the 5G technology, basically to share information, which helps if you think about the important sort of industries here, whether it's mining, whether it is the Industry 4.0 factories. So all what we do there basically provides productivity. And all of these give more chances for people in this region to how to say, be having a better life. That's why I think about this hope. And I think when we look at what 5G will bring, so Nokia today is actually, I believe, the only company in the world who acts globally. We are building already today 5G networks in the US, in Australia, in Japan, in Korea, in China. These are the first countries to deploy 5G networks. Just yesterday I was in Finland having a big honor of meeting His Excellency President Nazarbayev of Kazakhstan. And we had a very precise discussion also what type of balance in terms of cybersecurity, what type of balance in terms of trade we can do for the countries in this region. And I believe that is how we will help the countries in here. So we actually can bring technologies around the world to bring, we call it network slicing, we can talk about the technology, but I think the key message is that we will digitalize with the 5G technologies industries like agriculture, like healthcare, like, I mean, we spoke about the transport, that are today not digitalized. Bell Labs is part of Nokia, and through that we have 9 Nobel Prizes today, for example, in Nokia. We have done research which clearly show that the digitalization will improve also the productivity. So it's not only selling hope in that sense, but it's also improving the productivity, and that way, hopefully making the world to be a bit better place.
Very good, thank you. In a way, we are democratizing all the opportunities around the world with this infrastructure. So from now on, everybody can be reaching out to new technologies, and they can design their own technologies. So that will be the target. Thank you. Erman, we all talk about the good things, opportunities, but at the same time, there are some challenges of countries. What are these along this way, Belt and Road digital perspective? The opportunities as well as challenges.
Yeah, there is a lot of opportunity and challenges also for the countries, for the digital perspective. The BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, could reap the full benefits of the digital transformation if it focuses on 6 areas in action. And if we also list these 6 areas, the first one is putting a digital skills plan in place for the entire population. Without the right framework for skills, countries may risk missing out on the opportunity to transform traditional industries with value-added digital jobs. It's urgent to skill up the workforce and include digital skills in the education curricula. It's same for Turkey, also for the other countries. The second is the maximizing the potential of data-driven economy. Because we are talking about big data, artificial intelligence, there is a huge data in the countries, and the data is growing also every day, cross-border cross-border transformation. And it will generate also more growth based on innovation, customized services, and new business models. Keeping data imprisoned within national boundaries will hurt the growth and innovation potential for the countries. And the third one, also the upgrading the infrastructure to boost connectivity through spectrum 5G, as we told before, the broadband, high-performance computing and cloud computing, intense investment on spectrum and on connectivity are vital. In order to ensure the distribution of 5G and gigabit networks, a clear goal should be set for investments and applications across the BRI countries. And infrastructure should be experimented with multi-stakeholder business models. It's also new for the most of countries. We can't develop this infrastructure alone as a one country. It has to be also worked and developed together with multi-stakeholders. And we have to ensure reliable connection to route the BRI's main transport routes. And the fourth one is, as we discussed again, the reinforcing the cybersecurity capacity. Threats are global for everybody, for countries and for governments, for finance institutions. So should be also solutions for cyber threats. A shifting threat landscape requires an agile response for solving problems, and increased focus on digital cyber skills is important. Innovation can only flourish if there is trust. For the trust, we have to develop the also cybersecurity solutions for everybody. And the fifth one is exploit the potential of artificial intelligence. Why artificial intelligence is becoming an essential driver of future growth and job creation. Because we are the partner, also member of Digital Europe, and there is a lot of companies from European area, from US, from Asia, Pacific, from each country also. And there is a report also for expectations year 2030. And in the report also, in 2030, AI's artificial intelligence contribution to the global economy will reach 13 trillion euro. And China's contribution will be also 7 trillion euro. This is a huge number also, and it's coming. And if you look at also China's next generation artificial intelligence development plan, in last year, July, China released the next generation artificial intelligence development plan in order to become the world leader in the field by 2030. It articulates a 3-in-1 agenda in artificial intelligence, tackling key problems in research and development, pursuing a range of products and applications of artificial intelligence, and cultivating an artificial intelligence industry. By 2020, China plans to have achieved major progress in next generation artificial intelligence technologies, including big data, swarm intelligence, hybrid enhanced intelligence, and autonomous intelligence systems. Ultimately, by 2030, China aims to become the world's premier AI innovation center. When I read also papers and reports, I saw that between last 3 or 4 years, the also research numbers, papers which also listed from China, it's more than 40,000 papers. If we also look the US papers, it's around 20,000, and it's in around 15,000 in Germany and the other countries. There is a huge research development and papers and work also in China. By then, China's artificial intelligence industry is targeted to exceed 1 trillion RMB, with artificial intelligence-related fields totaling 10 trillion RMB. It's a huge number. And the last one is facilitating and triggering the deployment of e-services for all countries and lead by example with the state-of-the-art public administration. And e-services are important also for countries, for government, for the private sector, and for the citizens also. And we are traveling between countries, and data is also traveling cross-border. And e-services will be important for everybody with these new business models and new works. And according to the Digital Europe report, the public sector constitutes between 20 and 30% of European GDP, and only 33% of the European population are benefiting from advanced e-services today. It's same for the other countries. Some developed countries may be higher than these figures, and some of the also underdeveloping countries should be less. And there should be also develop the e-services for governments, for citizens, and for private sectors, for doing businesses more effective and also productive. Thanks, Filiz.
Thank you, Erman. So we talk about several things, and we have to point out that every company and country needs to change their way of doing business for the future. As an example, on 3D side, so many production products started, and as an example to transportation. Today we have a known transportation way, but for the future, maybe we will start production on place, on-demand production, not mass production, especially for 3D area. On e-commerce side also will be contributing to that. We will see different business models. So Fan, I would like to ask similar question to you.
Can I
Sure.
just add something to this? Because I think it's a very crucial topic. Because when we talk about challenges, and challenges is opportunities, or I think even in Chinese, risk means also opportunity, isn't it? Something like that, right?
Some people argue like that.
But, you know, from my point of view, you addressed it, but I just would like to underline it. When you build a road, a freeway, autobahn, trade road, or whatever, and when it's not safe, no one will come. And then you can have the most beautiful roads, most sophisticated, but in case it's not safe, foreign direct investment will not come and people will not use it. In next 10 years, I believe profoundly, the cyber crime and cyber security issues will surpass the traditional crimes that we actually see around the world. And we really have to ask ourselves the question how we can mitigate that, because Siemens is also very strong in providing technology, but we see that the smart users will be much quicker in crushing technology than actually the technology develops to protect us.
Right.
So you cannot build walls in order to protect from a problem. The key topic is, in case we want this road, this trade road, the Silk Road, the Belt and Road to being safe, the core topic is collaboration. And I think that is what we have to do. We have to collaborate much closer to understand why these risks occur. Very often it's because of the social divide, of economical problems, of insufficient, let's say, sharing of wealth. When we do that, we will probably also reach a much more safer trade roads also in the years to come. So that just want to underline that because I think it's very, very crucial.
Thanks.
And if we don't design the how will we work and how will we implement this infrastructure and how will act also with this infrastructure, who are the owner of data and how will we share data also What should be the value-added services with that? Otherwise, like the software development also, if you don't design the software correctly from the beginning, you are spending your time and money also for maintenance services or solving the problems. Right. It should be same for that. But we don't have time, we don't have lose money and time also for future. And we have to develop digital competencies to build new technologies with also new smart people, new smart cities, and everything also, not working to maintenance or solving the problems.
Right. Fan, I would like to ask the same thing to you. Where do you see the biggest opportunity or biggest threat for Belt and Road countries in digital perspective?
Some experts here have already described about the challenges in a technical perspective. I think there are some other challenges as well. 40 years ago, China has launched the opening policy, reform and opening up policy. So for the past 40 years, great changes have taken place, and many enterprises are becoming stronger and stronger, and they are more influential in the world. And the Belt and Road Initiative was initiated 5 years ago, and I think this idea, in my own opinion, is another reform and opening. It's the continuous of the reform and opening policy. And since it is initiated, enterprise in China are crazy for that. Many people are pursuing the idea and the market of Belt and Road countries. So you can see many visitors, many entrepreneurs coming. But I think the main challenge is that one of the challenges is that they may understand these countries are all different. How to implement their strategies, their laws, their local laws, let me say in that way, to implement these strategies in a commercial way, not in a political way. So feasibility study, risk control, these are all, and financing, these are all challenges. Opportunities seems to be obvious because with more exchange, more visiting, more contacts, our enterprises has explored more market. And in the meantime, their overseas partners has got more understanding to China, and therefore the China domestic demand is their market as well. So opportunity seems to be obvious, but
thank you.
Let me stop there.
Thank you. Hüseyin Bey, we are producing and manufacturing continuously, and if we produce like that in 20 years, we will need 48% extra energy, 40% extra water, so it brings us to sustainability at the same time. How Digital BRI will be pioneering international venture to share expertise, knowledge, and data to demonstrate the significance of Earth observation, science and technology, and big Earth data applications for large-scale sustainable development projects?
Well, this question is related to environment. We're talking about, yes, it's great to build, but what about the environment? And I always ask myself, how do you assess the opportunity of this world? What are the parameters? Looking at this great country, China, and India, as large countries, does not fulfill our, let's say, really opportunities. There are much more countries. And when I look into, for example, really, there are many countries, also on the Belt Road, we would maybe consider them today backwards, not developed, etc. But interestingly, many of these countries used to be very important trade hubs years ago, 1,000 years ago. I mean, Babylon, Nineveh, Akkad in Mesopotamia, all these countries were very important crossroads for trade. What happened? Why are they not anymore popular in trade today? We have to ask ourselves this question. And when we look into the history, we also saw trade roads were built, and, for example, by the Romans, by the Persians, but their interest was more to control this road, and they had no big interest in, let's say, developing them for prosperity. So what also happened while you're building trade roads in the past, it affected also negatively to the environment. So when we look into 380, the years 380, we already had actually environmental issues. We had environmental issues in the steppes, like the nomadic people, also in China, and these people hadn't had enough water and couldn't actually maintain their crops, and they were actually forced to move. Interestingly, that during that time, we had the first refugees. Many of us remember, for example, the Huns. Everyone remembers Attila, etc. Well, Attila and the Huns didn't go to Europe only because they were bored. Many of them couldn't live in their own area anymore because the living conditions were not good. Because of environmental issues and because of, for example, abuse of resources. So what is the message? Today we have the technologies to understand historical data and how actually these natural catastrophes happened and how we can actually take actions to avoid that it happens again by data analysis. And I think that is what we have to do. When we are building, we have to also, simulate and saying, this is how the infrastructure looks today. These are the main challenges. And what is it, what we have to invest, take care of it in order not to have the same problem that we had maybe 1,000 years ago.
Right.
And interesting what I said about the refugees. 1,600 years ago, we had some of them coming to Europe because they couldn't live in their country. And today, we're having again refugees, also many in our countries, who could not live in their countries because the conditions were bad. So therefore, analyzing data, being honest, investing, but with high amount of responsibility and collaboration is actually the most important aspect.
Thank you. I will ask the last question to Miko, then we will have a few minutes if you have questions so we can take it. Miko, how telecommunications infrastructure will form the backbone of regional economic integration while railways and ports are becoming the landmarks of BRI deployment?
Thank you. Very good question after a very deep answer from Hussein Bey here. So I would basically, let me first a little bit touch also the topic of refugees and all the issues we have here. So I'm a father of 5 daughters and we live in 5 different countries, and when I talk with my daughters, they... Thank you, Teshikla. Basically, when I talk with them, they are challenging all the time, right? What are you guys doing? What did you think? What were you thinking on all of this production of plastic and trying to gain something? I share with my teams always, I say it that way, that most of us always think that once I'm successful, I can be happy. And that way, you are trying to do all the time more economical benefits, try to read something that is always moving, and I think then we are all like trying to do the same thing, and that's what happens, right? And I think what I try to do there, I said about the hope, but I also mean it in that way. So when we think about what the new technology with 5G will bring in here, right? So all of us have seen the change that world experienced with the 2G. So suddenly, that's a GSM part, right? So suddenly, mobile communication, even altogether communication, was available. And people were, able to start to buy mobile phones, and, Nokia became big and all of that stuff. 5G will have the same impact, actually much bigger most likely, and hopefully. So I think we still have time, but what it means is that now with the data analytics, so a big portion of this, what we will be seeing is that suddenly we always talk about data. Data is available in the cloud. We have enough, you call it artificial intelligence, machine learning, so we will have the capabilities to bring algorithms that actually, hopefully, start to get much, much more local value creation. So we don't need to be moving stuff from China to Europe and vice versa, right? So I think that hopefully we get into a world where what brings us happiness is produced closer. Right. And all of that intelligence that comes with these, I think will be very important parts of the future networks and future societies. What are we doing? I mean, when you look at it, so it means we have, for example, launched last week, I think there's a press release about how are we managing harbors, right? So how are we making sure that we are avoiding all the extra things that should not be happening there? How do we bring security into this? So we are having a lot of use cases where you look at security in transport. But I think in the end, the biggest impact hopefully will be that we have the data available. We can bring those algorithms together that in a way make sure that the demand and supply meet much more locally. And I think that would be my dream, if I would say it that way, that there's so much of potential in this region. I see it, I travel a lot, and I meet a lot of people. And I have to tell one more story, because when I moved to Turkey last year, my Chinese friends, I used to live in Shanghai, my Chinese friends were asking that, how can you move to Turkey? They are so weird people. And I said to my friend, she's actually a doctor from top university in Beijing. I said to her, they are just like you. And then she said, what do you mean? I said, for you, your two sons, your parents, your friends are the most important things. And when I see the people in this region, in the end, that's what matters. It is that we do good things for other people, and I think that's what I would like to bring our technology also in that sense. So.
Very good story. Thank you, Mikko. So, I'm done with my questions. Thank you. I promised them to finish in 50 minutes, and now we can open the stage for questions. Do we have a microphone for? Yeah, okay.
Thank you. My name is Suha Çubukçuoğlu. I'm an advisory board member of Koç University's Maritime Forum. I have a question to the panel, but Hüseyin Bey mentioned about cybersecurity. So it's related to this. What are the implications of Industry 4.0 on cybersecurity? Do you think it enables companies to become more aware of cyber challenges, or does it actually create more vulnerabilities than it solves? So where do you see this new paradigm leading to? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You see, when we talk about 4.0, we shouldn't limit ourselves just to industry. 4.0 or digitalization touches all aspects of life, but in particular to vulnerability. Absolutely. The more we become digital, the more let's say, data is out there, the more it will be also vulnerable. And therefore, we have to constantly work on actually new protections, new methodologies, new codings, and being faster, proactively actually than the smart users itself. So we will live constantly with this threat. But it does not keep us back of continuing to develop technology, because when you look into the first industrial, second industrial, third industrial revolutions, we had those threats as well. But the markets also matured. And I believe also, for example, in the digitalization area, people will be much more aware of the importance of their data to their personal life. And we need also the awareness of the people to understand how important their personal data is, and hence also to their working environment. So awareness is actually another topic of protection, cooperation, and of course the right technological measurements to protect our systems. But the risks, we will always have that. We can never say we are 100% safe. I don't believe that something like this exists.
Okay, if you have something to add,
Yeah, maybe I build a little bit on top of that because we do a lot of research on this topic, and actually there's an interesting book if you want to read called The Future X Networks, and it talks a lot about, it's by Bell Labs, and you can read a lot about the security. And the way I'm not a doctor in that sense, I cannot refer everything, but I think the awareness is the first thing, because I think it's a bit like if you think about the airport security, right? So you never will be able to build a 100% secure system. There are always people who try to break that. So you have to think that way, that whatever you do, like the airport security, is that it catches and it works in most of the cases, and all the time continuously think about what else could happen. And I think that is very, very important. And we actually create a lot of scientific paper and have worked on that side. So very important topic in the overall, so let's say, security of the networks for future.
Thank you.
I can add something. With the Industry 4.0 and digitalization also, the risk increasing every day because the connectivity is enhancing. After the connectivity, every device is talking to each other, and after that, the cyber threats and risks are increasing. We have to aware also of that and to have agile solutions for also controlling risk and managing risk.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hello, Ufuk Saygın from Akko Danışmanlık. I would like to ask about what will be the socioeconomic results of digitalization. I mean, if artificial intelligence or robots will take place of doctors or workers in the factory, how can we find job for them? And as you know, these people are also customer of the economic system. If they can't find job, how will they spend money? And how will this economic system will survive? And the other issue is social insurance system. If people don't work, when they retired, how they will take money from the system? The other problem is population is growing up and labor needs going down. How will we solve this problem? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With the new digital era, there should be different roles for each industry, and with the robots and robotics also, there should be different job definitions, and job definitions will be changed, and they will have different competencies on that. And I think in future, there should be some segmentation between different incomes for also entire population. Because some of people may be also the cyborgs or some cyborg activities, facilities, to adding some features to himself or herself. And job description will be changed, but still everybody will work also.
Please.
I have to tell you a story again in that sense. So one of my favorite pictures I have in my slide collection is a picture where you have the two guys who just invented the wheel. And the guys who used to carry things are there to saying that, stop those guys, the wheel will kill our jobs. So I believe that's what we see here.
First of all, I think it's an important question because it's in everyone's mind. In the history of industrialization, we always address this issue. What will happen to the jobs? Not new, not digitalization. It was in electrification, automation, during the steam turbine times. when you asked Henry Ford, in the early beginning what he thought about taxis and horses, he says there were always doubts. But we have to be, first of all, humane. And what I mean is this. I do not want people to carry heavy stuffs and breaking their backs. I do not want people, for example, to do low-level jobs when machines can do that. We should promote everyone to higher-level jobs. But, of course, it takes time. How to do that? How to do that? I give you two answers to that. One, we have actually a factory at Siemens in Amberg, and this factory's production is actually fully automated, 4.0 as you would say, and the output of the quality is 99.9% quality because it's fully automatized. And 10 years ago when we started actually with the overall headcount of 1,500 people. The output today, after 10 years, is 20 times fold, multiplied, but the level of the people itself, the amount of people is still the same. But the people consistently actually were doing higher level jobs. What do we do in Turkey? I give you an example in Turkey. In Turkey, we said digitalization for us, or this digital transformation, starts with every employee, factory workers, office workers, etc. And we developed, for example, a digital maturity index. Every employee of Siemens in Turkey, whatever they do, they have a certain timeline where they have to go in a system and test themselves, where do they stand in this digitalization. After then, actually, the system tells them, these are the classes that you have to take in order to raise your level to the position that we are developing in the future. So this is actually what we have to do. Developing, helping the people, educating them, bringing them to higher level jobs, but let the hard body jobs give that to the machines. Not easy, it takes time, it will be painful sometimes, but this is the way we have to go.
Thanks. Very relevant answer. It's just an example of how you are changing the workforce. It's a very good example of Siemens. So we will take one last question. Yes.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank each of you, especially the humanistic perspective, point of view. Thank you for that. And the historical summary, Hüseyin Bey, you have provided us, raise our awareness of the issue, the history, the societies, and the lessons that we should take from that. Now, I have, I think, an important question. It's based on intercultural competence. The communication part, as Mr. Lavanti mentioned, happens in time as you live in that culture. You get to know the people, the way they work, but at the very beginning, it might be weird, as you mentioned, for some others who are from other cultures. So we have guests here, Chinese guests. They are all welcome. And I really wonder how they feel here since the morning. Thank you very much that one of the participants said they found us very hospitable. And this is a very positive thing. When it comes to my question, what do you think about intercultural competence, the development of intercultural competence? I forgot to mention my name. My name is Gaye Özyaka, and I'm an educator. And I'm basically interested in culture. That's why I'm asking this question. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, I will let you to start. Yeah, I have some comments. Okay, Mika.
Okay, thank you very much for the
As
very
you are the
interesting-
one traveled around world most of us, so you have the privilege to answer.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question. I could talk for hours and hours about it. And I come from a small country, right? So Finland is somewhere there up in the north, and there were a couple of things. One of the things we learned over the years always is that, you know, if you want to have enemies, keep them far away from you, right? So never make anybody who is near you to be an enemy. But I think the most important thing in my experience of almost 30 years living in the US, lived in China, lived in Germany, now living here in Istanbul, I think if I would put it in one sentence, it's trust is given. And that is because most of the people I see always, they think that, you know, you look at the new person and you think about what is really in your mind. I've learned it already a long time ago. I always take whatever you will tell me, I believe you. Then maybe if I lose my trust, then if you were lying to me. But I think when you try to do that, so you try to understand and keep the trust from the beginning, that opens many, many doors and has helped me to work. I think I've traveled maybe to 150 countries. I stopped counting and met with people, and I see always the same thing.
Thank you.
People care about other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Miko. I will add one more thing. World is getting bigger, world is getting smaller because of hyper-globalization. Now we are seeing similar things, we are exposing similar things, and the most critical thing for all of us is adaptability, and the new generation has that. So we have to adapt ourselves to different environment, different cultures, and it is not as difficult as in the past. Today, we feel all familiar in the different cultures because of all this globalization. So we are exposing to similar things, and we are doing business together. I really think that it is getting easier comparing to past. Yes, Fan.
I think that's a very, very interesting question. Before answer that question, I would like to mention a few words about China. China, just the gentlemen know, is a very huge country with a large population, you know, and the differences between different areas are huge, and only few of them are very well educated. So talking about the culture and the culture of the world, I think what we should do in China and even in the world is education. In a meeting a week ago, some people asked me, what is the opportunity in China? Which field is promising? I think medical, meditation, education seems to be, in my own opinion, seems to be promising education. So only the majority of people are well educated. They can understand each other better. The other point is that we should do everything we can to push, to enhance the communication between people from different countries. So I've been here for 2 days, and this is the first time I've been to Turkey, and I found the people here very kind, very nice. It's different from, I can say, I couldn't have known this in my office in Beijing, just staying in my office in Beijing. I couldn't have known this. So keep contact, know each other. And I said already, as a state-owned enterprise, as a foreign trade company, we want to be the linker, the strong linker between the countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Fan.
You know, first of all, thank you very much for the question as well. I've been working for Siemens for 42 years, and I worked in 7 different countries. When I reflect what was really the success factor, in case I was successful, one was always to listen carefully. Even now, when we are in this room, and we are all speaking English, we come from different cultures. Speaking even the same language can be very often misunderstood. I have highly respect of the people who are sitting in the box there and translating just now, but how do you translate emotions? How do you translate, for example, really cultural, different kinds of observation thinking? Is very, very complicated. How can you do this? By getting together. How can you do this? By talking. How can you do this? By educating, exchanging people. And I think that is actually what I love so much. Globalization is the right way to go. We need to build much more roads where people can meet and exchange. And that's the future.
Excellent. I want to close with this all good messages. Thank you all for listening and joining this session. Thank you.
Evet, bizler de bütün panelistlerimize çok teşekkür ediyoruz bu keyifli sohbet ve katkıları için. Böylelikle bugünkü toplantımızın sonuna gelmiş oluyoruz. Yarın sabah saat 10'da yine sizlerle birlikte olacağız. Panelimizin ikinci gününde 2 ana, 3 de paralel oturumumuz olacak. Dinlediğiniz için, sabrınız için hepinize çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Yarın görüşmek üzere, hoşça kalın.